What's going on YouTube? Americans, of course, love their SUVs, and the bigger the better. This Atlas is Volkswagen's largest SUV, and for 2021 it received a large refresh to the styling and much more. However, I'm standing next to the 2021.5, which has even a few more enhancements over the refreshed model. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see if this is the family 3-row to buy. So it's kind of uncommon for an automaker to make updates in the middle of a model year and do a half model year. However, Volkswagen thought there were some, important updates that they wanted to go ahead and include rather than waiting. But like I said, this was just refresh. So as far as your styling, that's not going to change for this half model year. So what you're going to notice is this brand new refreshed grille has a more of a softer shape to it than what it had before. And on this particular model, we have the R-Line package. So what that's going to do is change this to be more aggressive. So for instance, down here at the bottom, we remove the large silver piece, and instead we go for a kind of a piano black piece and body color, which looks a lot more aggressive and a lot more sporty. Now, coming over here to your headlights, these are very nice looking LED headlights. This is actually standard across every single version of the Atlas. As you can see, you have your daytime running lights. The only part that's not LED is going to be your turn signal indicator, and then there are not any fog lamps offered. Now, one big reason you may want to choose the SEL R-Line model is because of these wheels. This is actually the largest wheel offered in the entire Atlas lineup, including the fully loaded model. This is a 21-inch contrast alloy. And let me tell you, these look excellent. You can definitely tell that extra inch over pretty much all the competition because they really stand out and look very Audi-like. Now, up here you've got your updated R-Line branding just like in the grille. And then, of course, your mirrors, they are going to be finished in body color. You have standard heating and standard blind spot monitoring. However, if you want power folding, that's going to require the fully loaded SEL Premium.
Now, before we get around to the rear design, I do want to mention a few R-Line exclusive bits. You'll notice here at the side, all of these lower body panels are going to be body colored as opposed to a black plastic, which does kind of help it look more expensive and premium as well as a little bit more sporty. But walking around to the rear design itself, of course, this Atlas was updated last year, or last half model year. So you are going to have those updates on this model. One of which are these LED taillights. These are full LED taillights, including the turn signal and reverse light. They have a very premium design. We have this chrome trim intersecting between them with Atlas branding inside. Then if we drop down to the bumper area, you're also going to have another R-Line change, and that's that you have fake quad exhaust. I don't know if they're really convincing anybody, but you do have it to give it a little extra stylish touch. Now, Volkswagen isn't going to give all of your safety systems as standard equipment like the majority of the rivals do at this point, but you do still have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection on all of the Atlas models. Now, if you go for the SE with the tech package, that's also going to throw in adaptive cruise control, and then if you go for the SEL trim and higher, that's going to throw in lane keeping assist and auto high beams. And new for 2021.5 is a travel assist, which is basically hands-free highway driving, and an emergency assist, which stops if you become unresponsive behind the wheel. Well guys, if you haven't taken a second to hit that subscribe button down below, we would really appreciate that. So go ahead and do that. But now let's go ahead and check out the inside of this Atlas before we take it out in a spin.
So walking up to the 2021.5 Atlas, you do have a smart entry system as standard equipment on all but the very base model. And you'll also find the remote start system included on the SE technology trim and above. Now to get inside the vehicle itself, just grab behind the handle since there is a sensor. And once you do, you will be greeted with that refreshed cabin, which does have some changes for the 2021 model year. And of course, there are some updates for the 2021.5 model year, which I will talk about in a second. But we'll start out by talking about your interior material and color options. So your base model will come with cloth seating. Your SEL premium trim, which is fully loaded, comes with real leather seating. However, everything in between comes with this VTEX leatherette. This comes with your choice of black, beige, or brown colors. And then turning over here to your door trim, with this SEL R-Line model, we have a contrast gray area up here with the color contrast stitching. We have a kind of faux carbon fiber trim, and all of this is going to be soft touch. As far as your windows, they're going to be one touch auto up and down for all four. We do have aluminum pedals as well as a scuff plate here. And then the seats are going to be 10-way power adjusting on all but the very base model. We do have 2-way lumbar support as well as 3-person memory seating that starts on the SEL. Then, like I was saying, this is a leatherette seat. I do like the design of it. Got kind of a nice boxy vibe, just like on the exterior, and you do have the color contrast stitching. And just like with the seats, the interior really has kind of a square vibe to it as well. And as far as your different materials, they are pretty nice. So across our upper dash, this is all going to be finished in a soft touch plastic. And as you can see, we have a double stitching detail. As we move down below that, we have some of this faux carbon fiber trim, as well as some silver trim that goes around the screen here. And then moving through here, this is going to be hard touch plastic. But everything in here fits together extremely precisely, just like you expect for a German vehicle, and feels very, very solid. Now, start up the Atlas. You have push button start located right here on the dashboard. And once it starts up, you will immediately see a very premium touch here with this SEL trim level, and that is the 10-inch Volkswagen digital cockpit system. This is basically a full reconfigurable gauge cluster, which is derived from Audi's virtual cockpit system, and it's very, very similar in its design and functionality. As you can see right now, we have our map right there in the middle, but we can also hit our view button here on the steering wheel, and we can make that take up the entire screen. We can also go to some alternative views, and you can cycle between all kinds of information right there in the middle. Now, coming back to the steering wheel, this is Volkswagen's latest design steering wheel with the brand new emblem. I really love this steering wheel, especially here with the R-Line, because you have the special branding. You have the perforated leather here. It is flat bottom. It has a nice thick rim to it as well, so this is a very nice steering wheel. As far as functionality, we have manual adjustment, but we do have heating included. Now, one of the strongest areas of this Atlas is interior storage, so let's go ahead and get into that. So I'll open up our center console here. We have an absolutely cavernous one. Tons of space, really nice felt lining at the bottom as well, and we have a USB port. We can get these coupons out. I don't even have to fold them in half or anything. Look at that. I can just set them in there loosely. We could fit at least 3 times this amount, so really impressive. In addition to that, we've got our 2 cup holders. We have another really large storage area up here in the front as well. This goes back a long ways. The bottom is a wireless phone charging pad as well on all but the base model. And then you have some more connections back there. And coming back to the shifter, of course, this is just a traditional style shifter, so you pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the right if you want to do some manual shifting. However, even on the sporty R-Line models, you do not have paddle shifters. Now heading into reverse, you'll be greeted with a standard backup camera with active trajectory and a pretty nice resolution. This is included on pretty much all of the trim levels. SEL is going to add parking sensors that our model has for the front and rear, and then the SEL Premium model will throw in a 360-degree camera. Then back behind the shifter, you have your electronic parking brake. You also have your drive mode controller. Let's go ahead and move on up the dashboard next to our climate controls. So what you got on board is a standard 3-zone automatic climate control setup on all but the very base model. Really simple to use. We have just 3 large knobs and then some different buttons physically located here for all the other functions, so you don't have to go digging around or look for anything. We also have 3-stage heated seats, which are of course going to be included on this trim level as well as the majority of models, and then the SEL Premium will throw in the ventilated seats. Alright, so now let's take a listen to our audio system. So what we have on board is the standard 6-speaker sound system that pretty much every single model gets besides for the fully loaded model. Wow, so I have to say I'm really impressed by this bass sound system. I did not expect for this to sound as good as it does. It actually fills up the cabin well and has a surprisingly good amount of bass. Okay, so now we are here at our display. So this is an important area because this is where you're going to see some changes come into play for the 2021.5 model year, and that's because this has the next generation MIB 3 infotainment system versus the previous MIB 2 infotainment system. That new infotainment system will be included on all the models with the 8-inch display, which is all but the very base model, which will come with a smaller 6.5-inch display and will still come with MIB 2. Now, what we're in right now is Android Auto, of course. What's important about this is the fact that this is running wirelessly, so as usual I'll hold my phone up to prove that to you. So that is brand new this year as part of one of our new features of the MIB 3 system. Now we'll go into the Volkswagen system itself. When you get into here, you'll see that visually it doesn't look all that different from the outgoing generation. However, once you start to kind of click around into some of your functions, you'll just notice that everything in here is really fast responding and super snappy. There are also some interesting features. One thing I noticed is that, of course, as always, you do have the approach, but you'll see this little hand thing. You can actually take your hand and swipe like that. That was because the camera was a little bit close there, it was messing it up. But yeah, you can do that in various parts of the system, so you have that gesture control. This system is very similar to Audi's new MMI touch response system, so you do have the notification shade and various other features that you can go through. And like I said, everything in here is very fast responding as well. Now moving on up from that, we have a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. And then up here at the very top, you'll notice a gigantic panoramic sunroof. This is included on the SEL trim level and above. As you can see, the glass is very large. You do have a kind of transparent sunshade which covers it up, and this front panel does open up.
Now, a really important part of any 3-row SUV is got to be the second row seats, because of course you're going to be using it for your family and all their needs. Now let's go ahead and talk about the space first. You're going to have 38 inches of rear legroom, 40 inches of rear headroom, which does place it slightly below that of the Kia Telluride as well as the Toyota Highlander, but space is pretty much abundant in this Atlas. And behind rear seating position, I would say I have probably 10 to 11 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, and you can also slide these forward as well as back. Now, as far as the features you're going to get, we do have vents here in the center. If we drop down below that, we do have our own climate controls and your own temperature adjustment. And then further below that, we have 2 USB Type-Cs and a regular household style outlet. If you go for the SEL Premium, you will also have heated rear seats. And I do also want to mention that captain's chairs are available on this Atlas. It's just not this particular model as equipped has them. And then we also have rear window sunshades, and that's going to be on all but the SE. Now let's go ahead and check out the third row. Now, very important that they make it easy to get back here, and they have, so all you do is look at the little lever right there. That lifts the seat up, and then you can slide it up and out of the way to make entry actually really, really easy into this Atlas's third row. Now, once I sit back here, as you can see, there are 2 seats. And as far as the space is concerned, you have 34 inches of legroom, which is very class competitive, actually quite a bit larger than something like a Toyota Highlander. And as you can see, I'm pretty comfortable overall. This seat is slid all the way back, and I still do have a little bit of legroom to spare. My feet can slide up underneath the seat, and also the thigh support is pretty decent. Now, as far as our features, we do have 2 cup holders on each side, and then we also have rear vents into this pillar right here. Now, walking up to the tailgate, if you go for the SE Tech trims or higher, you're going to have a hands-free power one. So just wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. And once you get inside, you're going to be very, very pleasantly surprised with the amount of space this Atlas has to offer. If you haven't picked up on this already, this is one of the largest 3 rows you can get. So behind the 3rd row, you're going to have 21 cubic feet of space. If you fold it down, that expands to 55 cubic feet. And then if you fold all of the seats down, you're going to have a very massive 96 cubic feet of space. The vast majority of the competition, and that is a lot of space. Now, as far as how they finished it back here, we do have a nice carpeting. If we lift it up, we do have a spare tire up under the floor. Then off to the left side, we have a storage cubby, and there's not going to be any power folding 3rd row or anything like that, so don't expect that like the Hyundai Palisade would offer. Now, over here at your passenger seat, we do have power adjustments on this higher end model. Then if we open up the glove box, big once again. Volkswagen really has maximized the space with this, so no matter how many people you have in here, you're going to have plenty of space for the coupons. So coupons galore. And then if we go up top, we do have a sun visor, also quite large with an LED light as well as a mirror, and you can also detach and extend.
So with the Atlas, you've continued to have the choice between 2 different powertrain options. What we have is the more powerful option, as you'd expect for the R-Line model. So we've got the 3.6 liter V6 engine. It's producing 276 horsepower, 266 pound-feet of torque. Those, of course, are good numbers for the class.
And I also just kind of like the sound of it. You know, when you push down the throttle, it has a nice growl to it, you know?
It does.
Now, with that 2021 refresh, the majority of the Atlas models will actually not come with this engine. They're going to come with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. That's going to have 235 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. But, you know, of course, this vehicle's mission is not to be powerful or whatnot. It's just to really deliver all 3 rows of your family in ultimate comfort. And the Atlas is really, really good at that. They have definitely tuned this to be very comfort-focused, not really any sport at all on the Atlas. So it soaks up the bumps really well. You can tell it just has a really solid ride quality, and you could just cruise down I-75 or whatever for just hours and hours on end, and it would just still be comfortable to ride around in. And now that we got up to speed there, I will get a sound level reading of us going 55 miles per hour so we can compare to stuff like the Highlander and Telluride. Wow. That's excellent. I knew it sounded quiet, but the decibel reader is going at 51.8.
Dang.
That is really, really good. I think that may even be like what the Q7 tested at. And I mean, just by the seat of my pants, it is really, really quiet in here.
I also want to talk about just how smooth this transmission is. So we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission, just like most aspects of this Atlas. It's just silky smooth. Really blends into the background, excuse me, very well. You don't even notice it shifting at all. And it is good and responsive as well when you put your foot down.
Now, as far as the fuel economy is concerned, I do want to mention this since this is an important part of this particular one. We have the V6, which is rated at 16, 22, 18 combined with all-wheel drive. So this one has equipped as 18 miles a gallon combined. That's pretty bad. That's going to be today's airball. Is just that fuel economy figure that is around 5 mpg worse than some of the rivals. So that's pretty bad fuel economy. Now they have kind of rectified it by, most of them coming with a 2-liter engine, which does get better fuel economy at 22 combined, but that's still not really great either.
But as far as the slam dunk is concerned, that has got to be the space on board. This thing is absolutely gigantic.
Yeah.
Even compared to rivals, which are large, this has several inches on them as far as like your exterior length. And then when you're inside of this cabin, I mean, just everything in here is just made to have the most open, spacious feel possible. Tons of leg room, foot space, storage. I mean, you cannot complain about space in this Atlas.
And finally, let's go ahead and talk about the pricing for the Atlas. Now, the S is going to start at $31,545, SE $34,895, SE Tech $36,895, SEL $42,395. What we have here, SEL R line is $44,025, and there's that SEL Premium at $47,000. This particular tester is going to come in at $48,080 once you add in the $1195 destination charge. So that's a pretty good competitive pricing with the rest of the class.
But all in all, I mean, this is just an impressive family 3-row crossover. I really feel like, Volkswagen, they emphasize the right things. This is just made for space and comfort galore. That is its #1 mission, and it absolutely succeeds at that mission. Plus, with your 2021.5 updates to your technology, that just makes things even a little bit better.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up this in-depth review of the 2021.5 Volkswagen Atlas SEL R line. We really appreciate you watching this video, and if you made it this far, you're a real one. You're a true fan. We really appreciate you. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out, and it doesn't cost you anything. All it's going to do is give you notifications on our content. But we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.